Donald Gist. I am the senior attorney and lead attorney for Superintendent Deon Jackson, Berkeley County School District.
So why don't we start with, tell me about this lawsuit. Has it been filed yet? And if not, when do you expect to file it?
We're in the process. As I said, I represent Superintendent Deon Jackson from the Berkeley County School District. Mr. Jackson was filed on November the 15th. Our contention is that he was filed illegally. We're taking all steps now to protect his rights and his interests. We will be filing a lawsuit on Mr. Jackson's behalf later this evening, possibly first thing tomorrow morning. We're going to file the lawsuit. The lawsuit basically is filed against 6 of the board members in their official capacity as well as their individual capacity. The reason for that is because the board was elected on November the 8th. There were some board members up for re-election, they were elected, and there were some 2 board members, I think, that were basically elected first time. Between November the 8th, the election was certified on November the 11th. Between November the 8th and November the 11th, they terminated my client on November the 15th. We have evidence to prove that they were involved in a plot, a conspiracy to terminate Mr. Jackson from his position. We believe that there's been numerous newspaper reports to include your station that is actually called into question this illegal hiring. We believe that Mr. Jackson's termination, not only was it devastating to him and his family, but tragic for the Berkeley County education community and the community at large. Mr. Jackson has received tremendous support as late as Thursday night from ministerial leaders throughout the county. This case is not, and I repeat, this case is about breaching his contract. It's about conspiracy. It's about intentional infliction of emotional distress, failure to conform and abide by the Freedom of Information Act statutes in South Carolina. It's a number of other issues in this case that we believe that the citizens of Berkeley County need to know and understand as to why we're standing with Deon Jackson. Mr. Jackson is a very competent, and even by one of the board members who made, who cast a vote against Mr. Dixon, he made a statement in the media that Mr. Dixon's performance was excellent.
Mr. Jackson, right?
Mr. Jackson, right, that his performance was excellent. Mr. Jackson, basically, Mr. Jackson primarily was replaced by Mr. Dixon, and there's a number of people that have called Mr. Dixon's certification into question. We aren't really necessarily concerned so much about that. We'll let the Department of Education handle that matter, but we're representing Mr. Jackson on the basis of his contract and the illegal termination that was plotted and carried out on November the 15th.
And what specifically do you guys believe, what law was violated? I know you said there were several issues, but was there any specific law that you're kind of, hanging the entire case on for the most part?
The lawsuit will outline specifically that he had a contract that would have been, that would have expired in 2025. He was terminated under the no provisions of that contract. And initially, the chairman that was elected, Mac McQuillan, said that he didn't have a reason for terminating him. He then, meaning Mr. McQuillan, puts out a statement on November the 22nd, a press release that says, now we've got cause for firing him. We believe that that statement was fraught with inconsistencies, with untruths, and particularly is quite contradictory. And we believe that it supports our position that one, Mr. Jackson, Superintendent Jackson, was fired illegally. We also believe that he was fired as the board held the meeting to fire him, not in conformity with the Freedom of Information Act. They excluded the press. We believe that the agenda, the way it was set up, was also in violation of the Freedom of Information Act. We also, and now we have direct evidence of a conspiracy that existed between the named defendants. The lawsuit will outline who the named defendants are in the case. And we believe that those conspirators basically have violated numerous board policies, not just the law, but the policies that were in existence by the Berkeley County School District Board of Commissioners. They violated those policies in addition to violating my client's contract.
And is it safe to say the 6 people who voted to fire Mr. Jackson are the 6 that are the defendants in this case?
Yes, we're suing them in their official capacities as well as their individual capacities.
And then what would Mr. Jackson like to see? What remedy is he asking for in this case?
Well, obviously, we're seeking monetary damages, but I want the citizens of Berkeley County to know Mr. Jackson did not resign his position as superintendent. Mr. Jackson was threatened on the morning of November the 13th while in church services by Mr. McQuillan that if he didn't resign, he was going to be fired on Tuesday at the upcoming board meeting. Well, the problem with that is that 2 of the newly elected board members, as well as the ones who ran for re-election, were elected. They weren't sworn in until November the 15th. They were threatening to fire this man, and they told him they were going to fire him on the 13th. There's a number of issues involving how they went about this. We believe that it is quite revealing the level of arrogance and the level of unaccountability to members of the public, the way this is played out. And we intend to seek justice for Mr. Jackson. It is our contention that Mr. Jackson was illegally terminated. It is also our contention that essentially the co-conspirators have, by numerous media reports, even covered by your station, that they've already pretty much verified what their intentions were, not only in terms of terminating Mr. Jackson, but they also violated the rights of anybody else who's a citizen in this state from being able and capable of applying for the superintendent's job in Berkeley County. They did not do a superintendent search. They did not advertise a position. It's called word of mouth recruitment. They elected to do what they wanted to do in the dark to try to conceal their evil motivations and intent. This has devastated my client and his family. It has also had a very devastating impact upon the community. But we believe, as the Thursday night show of support by the community, that Mr. Jackson was a superintendent for all the people. This is not a race case. It's not a case where it looks like they're firing him just because he's African American. This is a case where they violently and blatantly violate his contract. They violate each and every aspect of state law. And we believe primarily that Mr. Jackson has suffered immeasurable harm, both to his reputation as well as to his good standing in the community. And the community understands that. That's why they showed up in mass on last Thursday at a church there in Berkeley County with community leaders and supported Mr. Jackson.
And how do you prove conspiracy? Do you have some evidence that hasn't been released yet that you plan to present?
Read the lawsuit.
Can you send me a copy of that? Is that possible?
When it's filed, we'll make sure you should be able to pull it up on the South Carolina Court Administration website.
Absolutely. And you said that should be either later tonight or sometime early tomorrow morning?
Yes, sir.
Is there any other information you'd like to give us about the case or anything like that?
I want the parents and the students of Berkeley County School District to know that Superintendent Jackson loved them. He supported them. As Mr. Ramsey said, who's one of the defendants, his evaluation was just done months before he was terminated by the board, the former board, to include some of these defendants. And there was no evidence of any non-performance or failure to perform or that he failed to perform his job. In fact, they gave him a proficient rating. They even stated that the rating that he got was a rating that was equal to the former superintendent that had been there. We believe that when we go back to the big picture and we look at all of the factors here, that this was a conceived plot, basically to deprive him of his job, and at the same time, to shift the parameters of teaching and teaching philosophy in Berkeley County School District. He's supported by, we've heard from a number of administrators in the district, teachers in the district, as well as parents in the district, that they are not satisfied with the acts of the board that was taken before November the 15th, as well as on November 15th.